Hey guys, welcome to the Casual NBA Fanatic podcast. So after one day removed from the NBA Cup final between the Spurs and the Knicks, we're just going to do a bit of a recap on what our thoughts were on that game, what we actually took out of that. Was it actually an important step forward for New York and for San Antonio? Are these actual real steps that we are seeing them take? Will we be able to see them actually produce to this type of competitive level come playoff time as well? There's a lot to talk about. These are two teams that got to the final. These are two teams that really we probably didn't consider to be top tier championship contenders. I think a lot of people, like myself as well, were pretty much out on the Knicks. Didn't really believe in this offensive process shift. And, I don't know if that was enough to be able to mitigate still what their personnel flaws on the defensive end. For San Antonio, it's just the firepower talent gap as well between them and those top guys in the league, those top teams in the league. And so really just breaking down what we took from this game and just how the game actually ebbed and flowed throughout. And really just to start this off, I just wanted to go on to the Knicks point of view. This was, to me, a major step forward for them to prove that they can thrive in this competitive outlook, defensively as well, being able to actually compete against a highly athletic and physically rim pressuring team like San Antonio were, with the waves of athleticism they can throw from their guard spots, your De'Aaron Foxes, your Steph Castles. So I think it was actually a really big step forward for New York, but obviously it's the big story about New York and what makes them so dangerous is the offensive polish. And it looks extremely resilient right now ever since Mike Brown stepped into the New York Reigns. And really, they're just adding to their game-to-game margin. That's been the biggest thing with New York this year, and they proved it once again in this NBA Cup final. They're top 3 in offensive rebounds per game for the entire year. They average the 3rd least turnovers in the NBA today, and they're taking about 6 more threes a game compared to last year, and they're doing that with more established movement. That takes place through their running off-ball flaring actions more continuously as well. Mikal Bridges has been a massive staple in that as well, as that designated movement shooter. They've been able to use that super developed feel with Bridges as well, being able to offer those touch screens, using his agile frame to fluidly separate off the screen contact as well. They've been using Brunson as a screener much more. OG Anunoby is one of the best cutters in the NBA. You heard Dwayne Wade talk about that as well. So they've been absolutely huge in terms of just milking the margins and milking their comfort a little bit more just by creating that initial advantage in every action. And another stat as well, which I thought was extremely exceptional to this actual direction shift for New York, is they're creating 10 more spot-up possessions per game. And they've nearly increased their handoff actions by 40%. And so just making a more concerted effort again, getting that initial advantage in every action, and that just builds up the comfort that they get in each possession. And again, that builds up throughout a 48-minute game, throughout a season, throughout a playoff series, and just slightly putting in more effort to open up their actions just a little bit more. And that has done them absolutely wonders into actually making this offense super resilient. And an offense, especially for the regular season, will be extremely hard to go up against every single night. The Knicks defense, like I spoke about at the start though, extremely strong relative to our previous expectations, to be honest with you. In this game, we saw them shut off the Steph Castle rim pressure tap, especially with the OG Anunoby matchup that they threw out to him, especially in that second quarter, making that a concerted matchup for them. And it's just their actual wing defensive rotation just comes in so handy against a team like San Antonio, a team with multiple different types of rim pressuring talents at the perimeter positions. Yeah, obviously you have your pick and roll dissector and your more pull-up leaning threat in De'Aaron Fox. And then also you have Stephon Castle, who provides more of that physical force, that physical downhill leverage force. And that's exactly why the Knicks brought in two wings like Bridges and Anunoby, two guys that complement each other on different assignments defensively as well. And then also just neutralizing De'Aaron Fox as well. That was a massive thing for New York. Apart from some of those few insane deep jumpers that he was hitting, just throwing timely weak side help, just the activity from Mitchell Robinson as well in that drop coverage. You even saw Ariel Hukporti as well in those 2 minutes that he played in the second quarter as well. In that drop coverage, just high activity between from the hands and the footwork as well to disturb Fox. And then just the screen navigation from Mikal Bridges the entire game. there aren't many guys who can actually dodge screens. Again, agile frame, but also just the footwork as well, and the staunching wingspan will actually provide valuable back pressure in those possessions. And Fox isn't the most physically imposing rim pressure either. Like, he's not the type of guy to offer those body blows to get you out of position as much. So that's where Mikal Bridges can actually thrive in this particular matchup. And then, so obviously, like, when you're neutralizing Fox, like, that is the head of the snake. I mean, Wemby is coming off the bench as well. Their defense on Wemby as well was also something that I thought was really great in terms of just offering those physical bigs and trusting guys like even Karl Anthony Towns when he's on the floor to take on those isolation possessions. And even he showed up to be actually pretty good in actions that didn't involve multiple different guys. But obviously, offensive resilience is ultimately what separated this game in this matchup. And I just think the gap between Jalen Brunson and De'Aaron Fox was pretty clear. And to me, like, Fox is just more susceptible, again, to those physical defenses. He's more susceptible to turning the ball over against weak side timely help. And as that short range scorer as well, I think the gap is pretty huge there as both actual, like, literal, not just like space creators. I mean, but Brunson has like the footwork toolkit that he has over Fox, but it's also just Brunson's shot touch in that intermediate zone, which is just so beautiful to watch in games like this. And then obviously that was just an outclassing in that department, but then also Mikal Bridges as well. I mean, to me, he was like one of the X factors in this game, especially within like the first 3 quarters of this matchup. And he's just one of those guys that I've been super high on. I think I ranked him in my top 60 in the NBA this year. I think a lot of people probably would have thought that that was a bit high considering how he performed last year and his value last year. But I mean, this season, he's been absolutely exceptional in the exact system that is absorbing everything he does so well on the floor. I mean, his movement gravity, that has been one of the big pieces that I was hoping New York would be able to absorb when they brought him in last year. I don't think Tibbs did enough of a job actually using that value that he brings to the game. And it's how he uses that movement gravity as a DHO initiator, but also as a curler as well in those handoff actions too. You know, he is a guy that can actually put the ball on the floor. Actually pretty decent playmaking feel as that connective passer. Decent in those mismatch hunting reps as well. And he's also someone that can actually hunt those efficient fading looks in that intermediate zone, in that short range as well. And that provides like actual stabilized offense to the Knicks half court. So it's not just purely relying on Jalen Brunson to actually dominate in that short range as well. And that's just super valuable. And then also you're also getting that agile defensive coverage as well. That is invaluable against a matchup like a De'Aaron Fox as well. It may not work against the guys like the Donovan Mitchells in the world, but it will work against the De'Aaron Foxes. And like this year as well, I mean, like we saw the movement gravity be put to work in this matchup, but he's also just converting on those jumpers a lot better. It wasn't as good in this game, but in terms of just this whole stretch for New York, I mean, Mikal Bridges' shot making has been huge. And he's been making 41% of his threes. That's 6% more than last year. And he is one of those guys who just helps blend defenses. And, you know, obviously, again, not the most pretty game that we saw from him. I just thought he was actually really valuable for New York defensively, but also you see the offensive perks that you do get from him as a connected piece. And then also like the story for New York and how they did take the game, because obviously San Antonio were pretty much in control for this game. I just thought that fourth quarter shift was where the bench really pulled it in for the Knicks and actually took the game away from San Antonio. Tyler Kolek just knows how to play basketball in this system. Smart, decisive, fast reads, understands how to push pace sustainably as well. He doesn't really make mistakes in the full court. Timely pull-up threes, nice closeout attacking aggression, and like extremely strong kick-out reads when he does get into the teeth of the defense. He's also plays with this sort of intensity as well. And that does make him somewhat resistant to mismatch hunting on the defensive end of the floor as well. And like you talk about a guy that when you do insert him into the game, you are getting positive dividends. Tyler Kolek was absolutely huge in that fourth quarter shift, just as that Energizer Bunny. Talk about Energizer Bunnies though. I mean, Jordan Clarkson, absolutely huge in that fourth quarter stretch. And we knew like what he was brought into New York to actually do for them. And he did exactly that in that fourth quarter as well. Just providing that scorching perimeter like shot making boost, the confidence as well in the scoring. And then obviously Mitchell Robinson as well. I mean, just stepping in for New York. He gave you 10 offensive rebounds off the bench, 15 rebounds in total in just 18 minutes. And so basically just gift wrapping New York, bailout possessions, and providing that physical toll on Victor Wembanyama in the second half, which to me is what actually changed the game and gave New York that amazing advantage to actually really just halt what San Antonio was able to create, especially after that flurry that Wemby was throwing at the Knicks in that late third quarter. And then in that fourth quarter as well, when we're talking about margin for New York and actually building up that margin, New York out-rebounded the Spurs 23-6 in that fourth quarter. And they took 31 field goal attempts in the fourth quarter to San Antonio's 19. That's 12 more field goal attempts. And that is what you call margin. That is what is going to win you these regular season battles. And then down the stretch as well, like obviously the benches who brought back New York into the game gave them that chance to close it out. And Jalen Brunson, to me, just outplayed the Spurs' perimeter creation down the stretch of this one. You know, his intermediate shot hunting and that soft touch feel for the glass is just something that is so historic at this point in time. And then just being able to spam pick and rolls, to be able to bail out your team in those initial half-court looks as well. Obviously, a lot of those turned out to be misses, and then Mitchell Robinson was putting in good work on the glass. But Jalen Brunson absolutely outplayed anything that Wemby, Fox, or Steph Castle were able to create down the stretch of that game, just with his ability to thrive in physical environments. And that was the story for New York. Winning on the margins, having the talent advantage at the top as a half-court creator as well, and just getting that bench surge, which has been absolutely crucial for New York, whose biggest question mark was also their depth issues, that we presumed. We didn't know Tyler Kolek was going to be this good. We didn't know Jordan Clarkson would be able to have this type of value. We didn't even know if Mitchell Robinson was going to be healthy in a game like this. We didn't think Josh Hart was going to be able to step into a game and provide that soft touch feel as a connective closeout attacker with actual scoring polish now. So New York look really good right now. And it is good for regular season offense. Not overly sold on how it will translate to the playoffs just yet. But New York look absolutely amazing. But going on to San Antonio's front, obviously a big part of this story was Victor Wembanyama. We know he was dealing with, I think it was a loss quite close to him he spoke about after the game, and that would have no doubt have taken down his ability to actually concentrate, focus on getting those slight advantages. But obviously in a game like this, we did see a lot of those weaknesses for Victor come up to the surface, and these would be regardless to any other situation. We're talking about the susceptibility to physicality. But at the start of this game, though, I actually thought Wemby was actually pretty good. I know he was a -7, I think, in the first half, plus minus wise, but I actually thought he had a really good imprint on the game once again as soon as he was inserted instead of Luke Cornett. So at the start of this game with Wemby, what they were able to do to be successful, again, spamming those pin down screens for Victor the entire time he had that Mitchell Robinson matchup. And the Knicks, they legit cannot switch any of those off-ball screens. And especially when Steph Castle is setting that ball screen and you're just leaving Jalen Brunson on that side. And that's the luxury that you have with Victor Wembanyama when you are talking about movement value in the modern day NBA. And when you're trying to establish positioning as well, I think the fluid body movement of a guy like Victor Wembanyama, someone who can also set up his bigs for those screens really well, angle his frame as well for the catch, that stuff, again, invaluable. And he had a lot of success there getting to the foul line as well, getting some nice finishes close to the basket. In that second quarter as well, I just thought Wemby had a massive stake on the game defensively as well. And that is the thing with Wemby that you can't actually take away. That's why he doesn't just have the all-time peak ceiling, but his floor value is already an all-NBA level type of guy. Just using that wingspan and that rim deterrence once again to really minimize anything the Knicks were able to do rim pressure-wise. And just like he did against OKC, just fully shuts off the actual rim for New York's creators, for Jalen Brunson. You force them into those tough short-range looks. That is a very different type of shot than actually getting to the rim. And that's what a guy like Victor does whenever he gets inserted into the game. So I thought the first half was pretty good. And then again, in that late third stretch, Wemby actually had that sparking stretch where he was just nailing jumpers off the catch in those face-up situations. Just dead-eye confidence as well, dead-eye balance, and just being at peace on those jumpers. But as the fourth quarter did shift towards, though, we did see him start to actually lose value. And he was just getting beaten just badly on the glass. And that's why I actually thought Mitchell Robinson just outplayed him in that fourth quarter. And that's where Victor was just getting physically disturbed especially in those offensive possessions as well, just resorting to purely just bad jump shots as well. And we know that is the main weakness with Wemby. That was a big thing that I had a problem with Victor last year. It's just the shot diet that he usually tends to lean to, especially in physical environments. And at this age in his career, like obviously the maturity has, like he does get to the rim a lot more this year. He still will have lapses in the shot maturity, but that will grow. Obviously, it sounds like he was dealing with a bit more on the side in the mental sort of thing for a game like this, but I still see a big pathway for success for Victor this year to have a large stake on games, even when he doesn't have the physical advantages. Also for the Spurs as well, like what you got from this NBA Cup, and to be honest, just beating OKC in general, just knowing you can do that, knowing that you can athletically match up against a team like OKC, that says enough for what San Antonio can accomplish this year. And this NBA Cup has been an absolute success for them and for their confidence and for the young guys, just for the culture as well, what we may be able to see them build up in the future. And they are going to be an absolute pest for teams going forward with this outlook on refined athleticism. And when I mean that, I mean so many teams can have athleticism in today's NBA, but they use their athleticism in such a physical manner, like, you know, harnessing and like focusing fully on just all out ball pressure between all of their point of attack guys. Tons of switching on the perimeter. Steph Castle, Dylan Harper, De'Aaron Fox, Julian Champagnie, Devin Vassell, just using their guards as well, attacking the glass with their physical wings. We've seen the work that Kellen Johnson's been able to do on the glass. That is actual refined athleticism, refined physicality. And that has been probably their biggest strength this year, like around Wembanyama, surrounding him with that. And if there's anything that you can take away from this NBA Cup run for San Antonio, I think it's that the Spurs and their formula of having a transcendent two-way anchor in Victor Wembanyama, someone who is absolutely elite in space on both ends of the floor, and surrounding someone like that with the array of athletes with high physical motors and an understanding of downhill agility. That is such a powerful foundation for competitive basketball right now and for their future. And this team is ready to actually start looking to actually upsetting teams right now this season. And you already saw the massive performances that you get from a Steph Castle. We've seen how pristine, polished De'Aaron Fox can look right now. Obviously, he was very disturbed in a game like this, very uncomfortable. But you actually do see the dividends that a foundation like this can pay. And once the team starts to get a bit more synergy together, once the offensive polish does click together a bit more for guys like Castle, Fox, Dylan Harper, you actually might be able to get some really lethal foundation from this. And I've been one to talk about, maybe you should move off Fox. You got that 3-guard rotation for the future. That might be a bit much, but quite literally, when Dylan Harper is hitting 5 of 7 from 3 in a game like this in his rookie season, and when he's attacking closeouts with that agile frame, understanding how to actually beat his defenders on angles at this age with that type of finishing polish and finishing skill set on his offhands. Steph Castle, maybe one of the ultimate cutting prospects that I view in the NBA. De'Aaron Fox as well. We know he can be a pull-up shooter, pull-up shooting weapon. I don't know. I reckon there's a bit of synergy to work with that 3-guard core. Maybe it's actually not a bad thing to actually look at keeping that unit for the future. We know Wemby will blend with every single one of those guys in every single situation, every possession. I just think there's a lot to look forward to for San Antonio, and there's so much to be excited about after already achieving so much. And you might just say, oh, it's the NBA Cup. A lot of teams might not take this seriously. You'd be fooling yourself if you didn't realize just how hard each team took this tournament. Seeing OKC's salty as walking out after the game, these teams took it seriously. San Antonio came into the final too. Obviously, New York did prevail. Both of these teams have a lot to be excited about, and both of these fan bases should be a lot more encouraged by what they may be able to actually achieve just this season. And I just thought we actually got treated to an exceptional NBA Cup tournament this season and an exceptional final to go out with. I think the New York Knicks, though, they look pretty good right now. And look, I don't know if either team, this actually boosts them into championship contention status with the OKCs, with the Denvers, with the Houstons. but it certainly puts them and cements them in that top 10, and that is for sure. Now, I'm going to be coming out with my all-time power forwards and all-time center rankings lists, like the top 5 lists, very soon. I'm still in the midst of making my, the top 5 centers list. I've already released my top 5 power forwards on Instagram, TikTok, on YouTube Shorts, wherever you want to find it. And I'm going to go through that rundown next week on a nice little analysis there. We're going to bump into guys that I did have to leave out, where I had to rank certain guys that I don't actually think you guys are going to be too happy with. But we're going to give that a go next week. I just wanted to get out this little NBA Cup analysis because I actually thought we could take a lot more from this game than what some people may realize. I hope you guys enjoyed this little breakdown. And look, I'll catch you guys in another episode next week.